Giving all praises to the Holy One of Israel for blessing us with a beautiful gift of life for this holy Shabbat day. Today we are studying the portion of Shemini, and we pray and hope that the Most High will be able to help us to extract the knowledge and the information that we need as we study this history and also to make it relevant for our days and time. We thank the Most High for the presence of everyone gathered here physically, and even for those that are gathered in their homes on the via the virtual Zoom service. We pray and hope that the Most High will continue to bless us as we cease on this 7th day of the week, as we prepare for the week to come. Forevermore, all honor and all praise are due unto the Most High, our hope, our confidence, our everything. At this time, we're going to face Jerusalem as we raise the ark to begin our Shabbat services. Hallelujah. Huma, Jehovah, we are Fusu, Boyebecha. We are Nusu Misaleka Mipaneka. Huma Jehovah. We are Fusu Boyeka. We are Nusu Misaleka Mipaneka. Huma Jehovah. We are Fusu Boyeka. We are Nusu Misaleka Mipaneka. Hallelujah. 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 Baruch Jehovah Babo Quail. Baruch Jehovah Besorai. Baruch Jehovah Be'erem. Baruch Yehovah Belayla, Baruch Yehovah Yom Yom, Baruch Yehovah Tamim, Yehovah Eloheinu B'Bakoshah, L'Solat Lanu L'Echol Nivarim, Ragim She'asinu Lefaneka Yom Yom, Ve'liyot Imanu Kol Hayom Hazeh, Lema'am Shemcha Yehovah, Elohei Abraham Yitzchak Yisrael, Elohei Avotenu Be'eli, Lishmoa B'Cholina, Im Te'ese Otka, Lema'am Shemcha Yehovah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Yochai. Yochai. At this time, we're going to sing a song, Ziyat Shabbat, on the 3rd page or the 4th page in your prayer books, as we give praises to the Holy One of Israel. It is a Shabbat, and we are happy. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Ziyat Shabbat, Sameach Ani. Ziyat Shabbat, Sameach Ani. Elohe Avotenu, Elohe Abraham, Yitzchak Israel.
Hallelujah.
Lifnei Kiseka Melech Haolam, Israel, Hod, Hod Pa'am, Hod Zevachot. אנחנו רוצים לתת לך כל תהילים מלך העולם וכל כבוד לך. מלך העולם אנחנו יודעים, אין אצלך, אין שווה אותך, רק אתה אלוהים ואין עוד. תודה לשבת מלך העולם, כי ביום אנחנו יכולים לשבות במסורתנו יהושע זבעות וכל עבודות שלנו. תודה כי אתה תמשיך לקלקל לנו מדור לדור. אנחנו בארץ שביותנו, אבל יש לנו חיים ויש לנו מיני מאזנות לאכול יומיומי, תודה יהושע זבעות. מלך העולם יש לנו ביתים לחיות, תודה. יש לנו בגדים לשם בגופנו גם יהושע זבעות. מלך העולם, תודה לבניין הזה, כי אנחנו יכולים לבוא יחד להלל שמך, להקים שמך יהושע זבעות. תודה מלך העולם לפסח וחג מצות שעבר, כי עשינו אותו יחד, תודה יהושע זבעות. תקבל אותו מידינו למען שמך. תזכור בני ישראל פינות העולם מלך העולם, כי אתה רואה המשפחה בסנט וינסנט מלך העולם, תזכור הם ותנהגים שלהם למען שמך. ומלך העולם תזכור עמך ישראל פה בארצות הברית, בגויאנה, באיים הקריביים, באיים הגויים מלך העולם, בארץ עדן, בארץ ישראל, תזכור ישראל, ותברך לנו למען שמך. מלך העולם תזכור עמך ישראל שבבית חולים יהושע זבעות, ותיתן להם רפואה שלמה בפרעה. תהיה עם המשפחה של מוניק וויליאמס יהושע זבעות. As she was taken off life support today, we ask you, God, to comfort that family, keep them strong. We ask you, God, to be with all of those that may be asking for the healing of their loved ones, and we ask you, God, to heal them. We ask you these things because we know, yeah, you hear our prayers,
Yes, sir.
and you're able to do all of
Yes,
these
sir.
things. And we bear witness from generation to generation.
Yes, sir.
It has been you, y'all, that has helped the nation of Israel. We thank you, Jose, and we relish the opportunity to bring names before you, even in special prayer, Jose. As we already mentioned, the family of Monique Williams, comfort them as they had to make that decision, Jose. We ask you all to be with our Kohen thinkers, being our own, being living and healing of Akrishai. Continue to comfort the Naphtali Allen family of Akrishai, Jose. Be Mori Elkanan and his family. Likewise, great King be with the mother of Akot Tamar. We ask you to continue to help her treatment to be favorable so that she can return to her full strength. We ask you to be Connie Jenkins, Joseph Free, Deanna Free, great King. Even be with the aunts of our brother Naaman, even his aunt Sandra and his aunt Velma. And great King, even those names that may not be on a list. We know, great King, everyone is on your list. And we ask you, great King, please put your healing hand in the nation of Israel. We ask you to be with those brothers that may be incarcerated, that are even innocent in the nation of Israel, even those that may be not innocent and are going through their reformation in the prison walls, great King. Help them to find you. Help them to be strong soldiers that in the uplifting of your name. Even us here, great King, help us to truly refresh ourselves, reset ourselves, so that we can truly be powerful servants of you, the uplifters of your name, and the doers of your Torah. We ask you to forgive our shortcomings. Ki atayo dia shabarno torateka me hatarim kashabnu tabarno sino salak la nu Yehosef Melika ulam ta se gamla abotini be yarim shem where Yehosef ki katotinu anak nu shabarno Yerushalayim be yarim shalanu Yehosef ta zor lanu livnot Yerushalayim ot pa'am be olam wa'ed me shabbat le shabbat Melika ulam anak nu Yachad, im koach shalanu, im kol koach shalanu, anaknu nehalel shemka. He melek aulam. Ines lekan. Ines lekan. Ata Elohi Avotinu Avram Yitzchak Israel.
Yes.
Yapakat Shel David Yamin Shalom. Vele Olam Wa'ed. Nishtachwe Rak Lifni Ata. Ni Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Ni Hallelujah. Ni Hallelujah. Go high. Go high. Go high. O Shema Yisrael. Yahuwah Elohim. Yahuwah Elohim. Yahuwah Elohim. O Shema Yisrael. Yahuwah Elohim. Elohim. Yahuwah Giving all praises continually to the Holy One of Israel, he holds ever holds. Let us unite our voices to recite this congregational prayer. And as you read it, feel that if you know the Psalms, you would see many Psalms have been combined so that these words can be familiar to us. We give thanks to the Holy One of Israel, for truly he hears our cries and our petitions. Amen. On the fourth page, we find these words. Hallelujah. Blessed art thou, O Jehovah, our power, and blessed be the works of thy hands. And the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, Yah finished his work, which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day and hallowed it, because that he rested from all his work, which Yah in creating had made. O thou art most holy, look upon thy people in mercy. Hear thou us, O power of Abraham. Nurture us, O power of Yitzchak. Save us, we implore thee, O power of Israel. Blot us not out, O Jehovah, though our sins be many. Cast our evil doings into the bottomless pit, to remain forevermore. Our hope is in thee, O Yah, and without thy mercy we have not. Father of wisdom, thou dispenser of knowledge, cause our hearts to discern and our minds to retain thy law. Bless Israel to know thee as we did in the days of yore. Let the sign of the Shabbat shine brightly from this thy house and from us thy people Israel. Let our voices mingle with the hosts of heaven as we joyfully proclaim. Blessed be the name of our power, and blessed be his holy name. Hallelujah. Shema. Shema. Israel. Hallelujah. This is the day which Jehovah has made, and we will be glad and rejoice thereon. Unto thee do I lift up mine eyes, O thou that art enthroned in the heavens. Ascribe unto Jehovah the glory due unto his name. Worship Jehovah in the beauty of holiness. In thee, O Yah, do I take refuge. Let me never be ashamed. Thou hast given us joy in the place of sorrow. Thy truth is like the head wine. Shout for joy, O ye children of Israel. Proclaim the name of our King, to whom the sun doth shine and the wind sing. Jehovah is our sun and shield. Who then could master us? To thee, power of our fathers, do we give honor and glory. For who is Yah beside thee? Be thou our judge, O Jehovah, against the ungodly nations. Save us, O our King, we beseech thee. Then shall we come dancing, singing, jumping, shouting, praising, dancing, calling, for it is the fountain of life. In thy life we see life. Thy loving kindness, Yah, is in the heavens. Thy faithfulness reacheth unto the sky. Depart from evil and do good, and dwell forevermore in peace. For your whole love and justice have forsaken not his holy ones. Hallelujah. Shema. Shema. Where is the power of Abraham, who did call our father from Chaldea? Art thou not he, O power of Israel? Where is the power of Yitzchak, who did bless with the righteous Rivka? Thou art one in the same. Who knoweth him who changed Yahweh's name? Thou, O Jehovah, forever remain. Though Joseph sojourned in Egypt, yet in all men showed him favor. Thy hand, O Yah, was with him. Thou didst tell Moshe and Israel against Pharaoh, who stood up the mighty Red Sea. Manna dropped from heaven to sustain thy people in the wilderness. They fashioned a calf to bow down to. Yet to Israel did thou show mercy. We give thanks unto thee, O Yah, and we will tell thy wondrous works. In Yehudah is Yah known, his name is great in Israel. His foundation is in the holy mountain. We will sing of the mercy of Jehovah forever. Unto all generations will we make them to be known. Stay thou, O Yah, in the midst of us. Cause righteousness once more to be sown. So shall the heavens praise thy wonders, Yah. Thy faithfulness in the holy assembly. Let Israel awaken the day with their praises. Glory to Yah, now and forevermore. Hallelujah. Shema. Shema. thou art my power. Earnestly will I seek thee. Hear my voice, merciful Father. Preserve me from my enemies. Send out thine angels to protect me. O thou that hearest prayer. With thy mighty hand, Yah, subdue all those that hate us. Remember us in mercy, O Lord, and pardon all our transgressions. Accept our Father, bless us. How would we hope to prosper? Unless our prayer protect us, we are as if we have not been. Stay thy hand, O death, for he doth forgive our iniquities. So will I sing praise to his name, and I will perform my vow. The dead praise not Jehovah, nay, nor any that go down into silence. Let us extol our power while we have life. Sing praise to our power while we have any being. Together we lift up our voice and gratefully sing. Withhold not thy voice from extolling our Maker. Let your know praise him together. Let the tribes come near and testify. Human tribes of Israel, the mighty of Jehovah. Say among the nations, Jehovah reigneth. Thy power Israel over all the world. For Jehovah will not cast off his people, neither will he forsake his inheritance. Thy testimonies are very sure. Holiness becometh thy house. Now, O Yah, and forevermore. Hallelujah. Shema. Shema. Yisrael. I just like to ask you to join me in singing the song HaTorah on the 6th page as we open up the Torah portion of our Shabbat services. The song HaTorah on page 6. Hallelujah. Oh. Hallelujah. The blessing of the Torah can be found on page 7. Nikra et Moreshmuel bin Levi ben Israel Anipo Baruch Hashem Shel Yehovah. Baruch Yahovah Yom Yom Baruch Yahovah Tamid Ubaruch Haba Likroei HaTorah Mode Ani Lefnecha Yehovah Shenatan Lanu et HaTorah. Amen. At this time, I'd like to ask those sisters to be seated and ask the men to stand. For this Shabbat, Shabbat Shemini, the Torah portion, the Torah reading portion is coming from the book of B.A.K.B.Y, also known as Leviticus, beginning in the 11th chapter and beginning in the 27th verse, and it concludes in the 47th verse of the same chapter. You'll have brothers and sisters come up to read, and they'll be translated into the English language. Our Ba'am for Shabbat Shemini, our Hebrew reading is found in the book of B.A.K.B.Y, and it begins in the 11th chapter and the 27th verse. And in Hebrew we find these words. Bechol olek al kapayo, bechol hachaya, aholechet al arba, temeim hem lachem. Kol hanogea benivlatam yitma al ha'arem. Vehanose et nivlatam yikabes begadayo betame al ha'arem. Temeim hima lachem. Veze lachem ha'tame ba'sheretz ha'shoretz al ha'aretz acholed ve'ha'achbar ve'ha'tzav liminehu. Targim b'Bafusha.
And whatsoever goeth upon his paw,
Yes.
among all beasts that go on all fours, they are unclean unto you.
Yes.
Whoso toucheth their carcass shall be unclean until the even. And he that beareth the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the even. They are unclean unto you. And these are they which are unclean unto you among the swarming things that swarm upon the earth, the weasel and the mouse and the great lizard after its kind.
Hallelujah. Mori alafnula she'atahu Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu Abraham Yitzchak ve'Yaakov Elohim. Nikra et Rabbi Baruch ben Yehuda ben Israel.
Anipo Baruch Hashem Shel Yah.
Baruch Yahovah Yom Yom. Baruch Yahovah Tamid.
Ubaruch Haba Likroei HaTorah.
Mori ani lefneka Yonatan la Torah. Waha anakwa, waha koak, waha ta'ad, waha kotem, waha komet, waha tim shemet. Ele hat me'im lechem beko asheret, kol hanogea behem bemotam yitma ad ha'erev. Beko asher yifol elam mehem bemotam yitma meko keli et o beged o or o shak ko keli asher yase malaka behem b'mayim yuba wetame ad ha'erev wetaher.
Targim b'Bafusha.
And the gecko and the land crocodile and the lizard and the sand lizard, and the chameleon. These are they which are unclean to you among all that swarm. Whosoever doth touch them when they are dead shall be unclean until the even. And upon whatsoever any of them, when they are dead, doth fall, it shall be unclean. Whether it be any vessel of wood or raiment or skin or sack, whatsoever vessel it be, wherewith any work is done, it must be put into water, and it shall be unclean until the even. Then shall it be clean.
Amen. Modi manakula, sheata Eloheinu, Elohe Avotenu, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Le'olam Va'ed.
נקרא את משרת יעקב בן דן בן ישראל.
אני פה ברוך השם שהיה.
Baruch Yehovah Yom Yom, Baruch Yehovah Tamid, Ubaruch Haba Lekroera Torah.
מודה אני לפניך היה שנתן לנו התורה.
Amen.
וכל פריפרס אשר ייפול מהם הם תוכו. כל אשר בתוכו יטמע, אותו תשתול. מכל האוכל אשר יאכל אשר יעבור עליו מים, יטמע. וכל משקה אשר ישתה בכל כלי, יטמע. וכל אשר ייפול מנבלתם עליו יטמע. תנור וחיריים יוטף, טמאים הם. וטמאים יהיו לכם.
הללויה, צדיק בבקשה.
And every earthen vessel, whereinto any of them falleth, whatsoever is in it shall be unclean, and ye shall break, and it ye shall break. All food therein which may be eaten, that on which water cometh, shall be unclean, and all drink in every such vessel that may be drunk shall be unclean. And everything whereupon any of their carcass falleth shall be unclean, whether oven or range for pots, it shall be broken in pieces.
Yeah.
They shall be unclean, and shall be unclean unto you.
הללויה.
Modi manakula, sheata Eloheinu, Elohe Avotenu, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Le'olam Va'ed.
נקרא את אח ירמיהו בן נפתלי בן ישראל.
אני פה, ברוך השם, של יהוה.
Baruch Yehovah Yom Yom, Baruch Yehovah Tamid, Ubaruch Haba Lekroera Torah.
מודה אני לפניך, יהוה אלוהינו אשר נותן לנו את התורה.
Amen.
אך מעיין ובור מקווה מים, יהיה טהור ונוגע, בנבלתם יטמע, וכי יפול, ומנבלתם על כל זרוע אשר יזרע טהור הוא, וכי יותן מים על זרע, ונפל מנבלתם עליו טמא הוא לחם.
הללויה, צדיק בבקשה.
Nevertheless, a fountain or a cistern wherein is a gathering of water shall be clean, but he who toucheth their carcass shall be unclean. And if aught of their carcass fall upon any sowing seed which is to be sown, it is clean.
That's right.
But if water be upon the seed, and aught of their carcass fall thereon, it is unclean unto you.
הללויה.
Modi manakula, She'atahu Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Abraham, Yitzchak, Ve'Yaakov le'olam va'ed.
Nikra et Amatzia, Ben Akavishadai, Ben Levi, Ben Israel.
אני פה, ברוך השם, שו יהוה.
Baruch Yehovah Yom Yom, Baruch Yehovah Tzaddik, Ubaruch Haba Lekroel HaTorah.
מורי אני לפניך, יהוה הנה צבאנו והתורה.
Amen.
וכי ימות מן הבהמה אשר הוא לכם לאכלה הנוגע בנבלתה יטמע עד הערב. והאוכל מנבלתה יכבד בגדיו וטמא עד הערב. והנושא את נבלתה יכבד בגדיו וטמא עד הערב. וכל השורץ על הארץ שחוט כולו יאכל.
And if any beast of which he may eat die, he that toucheth the carcass thereof shall be unclean until the evening. And he that eateth the carcass of it shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. He also that beareth the carcass of it shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. And every swarming thing that swarmeth upon the earth is a detestable thing. It shall not be eaten.
Modim אנחנו לך, שאתה הוא אלוהינו, ואלוהי אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק, ויעקב לעולם ועד.
Nikra et Achot Shakira, Bat Levi, Bat Israel.
Baruch Yehovah Yom Yom, Baruch Yehovah Tzaddik, Ubaruch Haba Lekroel HaTorah. Amen.
Kokim. Kol holik al gakol. Vekol holik al arba ad kol marbe raglayim. Vekol hasheretz hashoretz al haaretz lo tachlum tochlum ki shechetz hen al teshach תשקצו את נפשותיכם בכל השרץ השורץ ולא תטמאו בהם ונטמאתם בם כי אני יהוה אלוהיכם והתקדשתם והייתם קדושים כי קדוש אני ולא תטמאו את נפשותיכם בכל השרץ הרומס על הארץ.
Hallelujah. Targim b'Bakrisha.
Whatsoever goeth upon the belly, and whatsoever goeth upon all fours, or whatsoever hath many feet,
Right.
even all swarming things that swarm upon the earth, them ye shall not eat, for they are a detestable thing. You shall not make yourselves detestable with any swarming thing that swarmeth, neither shall ye make yourselves unclean with them, that ye should be defiled thereby. for I am your power. Sanctify yourselves therefore, be ye holy, for I am holy.
Yes, sir.
Neither shall ye defile yourselves with any manner of swarming thing that moveth upon the earth.
Hallelujah.
מודים אנחנו לך, שאתה הוא אלוהינו, ואלוהי אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק, ויעקב לעולם ועד.
נקרא את אחתאיאל, בן לוי בן ישראל.
אני פה ברוך השם של יהוה.
ברוך יהוה יום יום, ברוך יהוה תמיד, וברוך הבא לקורא התורה.
המפטיר.
אמן. מודה אני לפניך יהוה אלוהינו, נתן לנו את התורה.
אמן.
כי אני יהוה המעלה אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים והייתם קדושים כי קדוש אני.
אמן.
זאת תורת הבהמה והעוף וכל נפש החיה הרומשת במים וכל נפש השורזת על הארץ, להבדיל בין הטמא ובין הטהור ובין החיה הנאכלת ובין החיה אשר לא תעכל.
אמן.
For I am Jehovah that brought you up out of the land of Egypt to be your power. You shall therefore be holy, for I am holy. This is the Lord of the beast and of the fowl and of every creature that moveth in the waters and every creature that swarmeth upon the earth, to make a difference between the unclean and the clean, and between the living thing that may be eaten and the living thing that may not be eaten.
מודים אנחנו לך, שאתה הוא אלוהינו, ואלוהי אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק, ויעקב לעולם ועד.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh for our lives on this day, on this holy Shabbat day. Asking and praying that you will continue to be with us all on this day. All bells may be seated. Hallelujah. Another wonderful Shabbat day. Even the day where I can even stand before Yah's people to deliver this great word. Today's portion will be found in the book of 2 Samuel. We're going to pick it up in chapter 6, verse 1, through chapter 7, concluding at verse 17. We're in the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 6, verse 1, through chapter 7, 17. And before I actually get into the portion, just a brief synopsis of what's happening here. As you remember, the kingdom is now in David's hand from the hand of Shaul. Yah's with David, became greater and greater, and now is king of Israel and established his kingdom in Jerusalem, and which is the city where he will reign. He began his reign when he realizes that something very important is missing, and he wants to go get it. We have not heard anything about the Ark of the Covenant since like early Samuel. Remember when the Ark was the symbol of God's presence in 1 Samuel chapter 4, Israel, they took the Ark to battle with the Philistines. They lost the battle. We lost about 30,000 that day. And the Philistines took the Ark. And when it was in their possession, Yah sent a plague on them. They even tried to put the ark next to Dagon, their deity, and it fell flat on his face a few times, and it was broken apart in pieces. So they said, we have to get this back before they kill us. So they sent the ark on a new cart, and they sent it to Israel, and it landed in B.A.K.B.Y. And now, you know, that the men of Kirjath Yaraim, I'm trying to say it like Zalom would say it, brought it to the house of Abinadab. They held under the care of his son Eleazar to keep the ark of Yah. Now, the reason why the men of Bet-Shemesh had to get the ark out of this presence because they lost about 5,700 men because they looked into the ark of Yah. So the ark has been in the house of Abinadab for like 20 years, but now the ark is on David's heart.
Hallelujah.
So we pick it up in chapter 6, verse 1.
And David again gathered together all the chosen men of Israel, 30,000. And David arose and went with all the people that were with him from Baal Yehudah to bring up from thence the ark of Elohim, whereupon is called the name, even the name of Jehovah of hosts, that sitteth upon the cherubim.
All right, so we'll touch on this really quickly. And you can hold your spot there right quick. You know, sometimes I like to bounce around, but I want to make you understand what's going on. You remember that Second Samuel is a parallel account to which is First Chronicles. So if we touch on First Chronicles and we'll pick it up in the 13th chapter, we get a clear understanding of what's about to happen. And we're going to pick that up in Second Chronicles 13:1.
In the 18th year of King Jeroboam began Abijah to reign over Yehudah.
13:1.
13:1.
Second Chronicles.
First Chronicles. I was referring to Second Samuel as the parallel account. First Chronicles 13.
And David consulted with the captains of thousands and of hundreds, even with every leader. And David said unto all the assembly of Israel, if it seem good unto you, and if it be of Jehovah our power, let us send abroad everywhere unto our brethren that are left in all the land of Israel, and with them to the Kohanim and the Levites that are in their cities, that have open land about them, that they may gather themselves unto us. And let us bring back the ark of our power to us, for we sought not unto it in the days of Saul. And all the assembly said that they would do so, for the thing was right in the eyes of all the people. So David assembled all Israel together, from Shehor, the brook of Egypt, even unto the entrance of Hamath, to bring the ark of Elohim from Kirjath Yarim.
All right, you can stop right there and go back to the portion once again. But as you see that he was gathering men, so it's just so ironic that when we was warring with the Philistines, we lost 30,000 men. Now he's bringing 30,000 men to go get the ark. It was just something I recognized in looking over the portion. But continue on and back in 2 Samuel 6.
And they set the ark of Elohim upon a new cart, and brought it out of the house of Abinadab that was in the hill. And Uzzah and Achio, the sons of Abinadab, drove the new cart, and they brought it out of the house of Abinadab, which was in the hill, with the ark of Elohim. And Achio went before the ark, and David and all the house of Israel played before Jehovah with all manner of instruments made of cypress wood, and with harps, and with psalteries, and with timbrels, and with sistra, and with cymbals.
All right, so you see that they were very happy and excited to be able to bring this ark out after so many years. And the Most High, and David, he has this zeal for the Most High to bring this back. But something strange is about to happen.
Yeah.
But we know what time it is when the Most High has given us the Lord Exodus how to actually bear the ark. You know, in Exodus 25, you can read it on your own for the sake of time, verse 12 to 15, he showed you how the Levites were supposed to carry the ark. So, and you know that the Philistines put it on an ark, and now we're putting on a cart. Still got the ark on a cart, and it's kind of similar, but the Philistines wasn't taught the Lord that we were taught on how to carry it. So this is gonna be a major difference in this next scene that's about to show up here.
And when they came to the threshing floor of Nacon, Uzzah put forth his hand to the ark of Elohim and took hold of it, for the oxen stumbled. And the anger of Yahweh was kindled against Uzzah, and Elohim smote him there for his error. And there he died by the ark of Elohim.
And you know, ignorance of the Lord is what? No excuse. So the Most High works differently with everyone, but he touched upon the ark, and he lost his life that day, and of course they gave him a name, and we're about to read it soon.
And David was displeased because Jehovah had broken forth upon Uzzah. And that place was called Perez Uzzah unto this day. And David was afraid of Jehovah that day. And he said, how shall the ark of Jehovah come unto me?
Right, so when that happened, you know, after all day partying and praising, somebody just died and everything was abruptly came to a halt. Now David is sad. And now he's trying to figure out, how are we gonna do this? So he had to really think, and this is what happens to the next stage after Uzzah died. We couldn't just bring the ark and move it about because we just saw what just happened, so we had to move a different way.
So David would not remove the ark of Jehovah unto him unto the city of David, but David carried it aside into the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite, and the ark of Jehovah remained in the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite 3 months.
Right.
And Jehovah blessed Obed-Edom and all his house.
Right, so you know the word probably got around. Yo, since that ark been in that house, it's been good. I mean, their land is growing, their grapes is bigger, everything, their family done grew. You know what it is, we do about 28 about the real blessing and the curses, not just the mercy, but the real blessings where they understood that there was something special going on here. Let us read.
And it was told King David, saying,
Right.
Jehovah hath blessed the house of Obed-Edom and all that pertaineth unto him because of the ark of Elohim. And David went and brought up the ark of Elohim from the house of Obed-Edom into the city of David with joy. And it was so
Come on.
that when they had that bore the ark of Jehovah had gone 6 paces, he sacrificed an ox and a fatling. And David danced before Jehovah with all his might.
Yes, sir.
And David was girded with the linen ephod. So David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of Jehovah with shouting and with the sound of the horn.
That's right, so it was the reason why it became so joyous because they mentioned one key word, which was they bore the ark.
Yeah.
So I want you to really quickly, and I know I'm at the second time, I want you to jump back into First Chronicles chapter 15. And we're going to take it to verse 11 through 15. Again, that's First Chronicles 15, 11 through 15. So he did some investigation, some studying on how we're going to bring this ark back without being on the cart and losing another man named like Uzzah. First Chronicles chapter 15, verse 11 through 15.
And David called for Zadok and Abiathar the Kohanim,
That's right.
and for the Levites, for Uriel,
Yes.
Asaiah, and Yoel, Shemaiah, and Eliel, and Aminadab, and said unto them, ye are the heads of the fathers' houses of the Levites. Sanctify yourselves, both ye and your brethren, that ye may bring up the ark of Jehovah, the power of Israel, unto the place that I have prepared for it. For because ye bore it, not at all the first, Jehovah our power made a breach upon us, for that we sought him not according to the ordinance. So the Kohanim and the Levites sanctified themselves to bring up the ark of Jehovah, the power of Israel. And the children of the Levites bore the ark of Jehovah, of Elohim, upon their shoulders with the bars thereon, as Moses commanded according to the word of Jehovah.
As you see that we're reading right now in the 2 Samuel, we said, okay, we bought the ark and we danced. No, he did some work before we got to that ark. And he sought the Levites to bring that ark back the right way instead of putting it on the cart. Let's continue to read back in 2 Samuel.
And it was so, as the ark of Jehovah came into the city of David, that Michal, the daughter of Saul, looked up at the window and saw King David leaping and dancing before Jehovah. And she despised him in her heart.
And we already know about how she felt about David. Now, Michal, really quickly, she loved David. You remember when David was going through it with her father's house, she helped him flee. So she had a little different spirit besides him being his wife. So she's understanding he's a king, but he's coming through looking like a priest. And he's from the king of Judah.
Right.
And he's rolling with the Levites like he's a Levite. So she's a little despised in that way. That's right.
And they brought in the ark of Jehovah and set it in its place in the midst of the tent that David had pitched for it. And David offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before Jehovah. And when David had made an end of offering the burnt offering and the peace offerings, he blessed the people in the name of Jehovah of hosts. And he dealt among all the people, even among the whole multitude of Israel, both to men and women, to everyone a cake of bread, and a cake made in a pan, and a sweet cake. So all the people departed, every one to his house.
What a peace offering. He showed everybody love. You know how it is, he feels so good. But now he's about to come back to reality. Now it's time to go home. He's gotta go see my Isha and deal with my household. Everybody else's household happy. Let's find out what's happening with his household. Remember, she was already looking through the window, despised, watching all this happiness, and now they got a chance to have a conversation.
Then David returned to bless his household. And Michal, the daughter of Saul, came out to meet David and said, "How did the king of Israel give him honor today, who uncovered himself today in the eyes of the handmaids with his servants, as one of the vain fellows shamelessly uncovereth himself?"
So some say he danced himself out of his clothes, but I even heard some say that he was wearing a Levite clothing instead of his priestly attire, and that's the kind of the uncovered itself mean as well. Not necessarily getting undressed per se, but changing his attire from what he would normally wear as a king to what the Levites would wear. So that's another aspect of what I learned as well, besides him dancing out of his clothing. Let's read.
And David said unto Michal, "Before you who chose me over thy father and above all his house, to appoint me prince over the people of Jehovah, over Israel. Before Jehovah, I will make merry, and I will be yet more vile than thus, and will be base in mine own sight. And with the handmaids whom thou hast spoken of, with them will I get me honor."
That's right. And Michal?
And Michal, the daughter of Saul, had no child unto the day of her death.
And that's his love for the Creator will have more love than any man on earth, even his own wife. And the word before Yah, he used it in so many parts of this portion here today. He used it in verse 5, he used it in verse 14, verse 16, verse 17, verse 21, about how he stood before Yah. He's always before Yah. He always showed the real love to the Creator, and that's why he's blessed. So, chapter 7, due to the sake of time, we're going to read most of it, but the Most High tells David, when David would instill the zeal to want to do more now that he has the ark in Jerusalem, he wants to now build a home for it. Remember, the ark had a home when we was dealing in tents in the wilderness, and now he's trying to build a home for it, but it's going to happen, but not in his time. As we all know, his son Solomon was going to get that blessing to do that, and that's what Nathan the prophet is about to explain to David. Let us read in the other portion.
And it came to pass, when the king dwelt in his house, and Jehovah had given him rest from all his enemies round about, that the king said unto Nathan the prophet, "See now, I dwell in a house of cedar, but the ark of Elohim dwelleth within curtains." And Jonathan said unto the king, Go, do all that is in thy heart, for Jehovah is with thee. And it came to pass the same night that the word of Jehovah came unto Nathan, saying, Go and tell my servant David, Thus saith Jehovah, Shalt thou build me a house for me to dwell in? For I have not dwelt in a house since the day that I brought up the children of Israel out of Egypt, even to this day, out of the house. But have walked in a tent and in a tabernacle.
Right, so you see that David had a vision and understanding to want to do this thing. Now Tom was like, okay, he saw how blessed he was. Okay, go and do it. But the Most High stopped him in his tracks, like, now Tom, hey, that's a good idea, but let David know this. You cannot build me a temple, your son will. So that's what that was. He stopped him from making any drastic moves. But let's read.
In all places wherein I have walked among all the children of Israel, spoke I a word with any of the tribes of Israel, whom I commanded to feed my people Israel, saying, Why have ye not built me a house of cedar? Now therefore, thus shalt thou say unto my servant David, Thus saith Jehovah of hosts, I took thee from the sheepcote shepherd, from following the sheep, that thou shouldest be prince over my people, over Israel. And I have been with thee whithersoever thou didst go, and have cut off all thine enemies from before thee. And I will make thee a great name, like unto the name of the great ones that are in the earth.
So he's showing, the Most High is showing his appreciation to David, like, yo, I love you, I got your back. I know you got the zeal, David, but as you know, David was a mighty warrior as well. He had a lot of blood on his hands. Maybe David didn't understand it at first, but he's letting him understand. I love you, I feel you, I thank you for praising me and worshiping me, but your son has a different task for you, to the good that you have done to me. Let's read.
And I will appoint a place for my people Israel, and will plant them, that they may dwell in their own place, and be disquieted no more. Neither shall the children of wickedness afflict them any more as at the first, even from the day that I commanded judges to be over my people Israel. And I will cause thee to rest from all thine enemies. Moreover, Jehovah telleth thee that Jehovah will make thee a house when thy days are fulfilled, and thou shalt sleep with thy father. I will set up thy seed after thee, that shall proceed out of thy body, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be to him for a father, and he shall be to me for a son. If he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men, and with the stripes of the children of men.
Right, so he's basically, he's letting them know that he's gonna give him a special blessing even after his death. Say, yeah, you're gonna sleep with your father, but I still got you. I love you, David. I'm gonna represent you, your son, and I'm gonna let you build this temple because of that zeal you have for me. That is very deep. That him and the Most High and Nathan could be able to deliver this to him. Let's read.
But my mercy shall not depart from him, as I took it from Saul, whom I put away before thee. And thy house and thy kingdom shall be made sure forever before thee. Thy throne shall be established forever, according to all these words, and according to all this vision. So did Nathan speak unto David.
Amen. Hallelujah. Thanking the Most High for all things and everything. Even thanking Yaniel for reading the good Judite over there. And the Most High will continue to establish his throne greatly through that seed. But we ask and pray that he will be with all Israel wherever it might be on the Shabbat day. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Shalom, le père, mon père. C'est pour pas plus ça. put our hands together for Kyle again. Thank you the Most High for his knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Just to show that everyone that knows of the Torah can stand and expound on its history. You know, just one correction. A good Judite is an oxymoron. So the
What's funny?
the parallel with the Baptist portion is so sensitive. Yes, the parallel with the Baptist portion to me is you know, the portion today many times people might look at it, you know, differently. But going back to a few weeks ago, or just a few days ago, the holy days were so many that it looks like a few weeks. What Rabbi Baruch was speaking of, the holy and profane. And that is basically the theme that I pick up from today's portion. You know, the Most High is showing that separation. We saw in the era when people, you know, crossed the line. Just like how Uzzah today, he crossed the line in when they handled the ark in an incorrect manner. You know, as Israelites, we have to understand, as human beings, that we do things in our day-to-day life, but then we have to learn to separate that kind of activity and behavior when it comes to serving and giving praises to the Holy One of Israel. Because, you know, we live, you know, human lives, we have day-to-day activities. You know, not to say that it has nothing to do with it, but when you take the time to focus on the Holy One of Israel, to do his high and holy service, you have to do exactly as he requires. That's all he requires. And he keeps saying he's holy. And today I hope to be able to explain exactly what that means. So thanking our brother again, Atayo, beautiful explanation for that portion. And may the Most High bless his family and bless all the families of Israel. Hallelujah. At this time, we'll sing the song once again, Torah, as we close out this portion of our Shabbat services. In the place of Petach, we will put the word Sephor. The song Torah on page 6. Hallelujah. Whereby shall inviting our Rabbi Baruch. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Giving all praise and honor to the King of the universe. Blessed be his holy name. For there is none to be compared unto him. I'm going to tell y'all a truth. When we sing, my son goes, you know, you mess up all the songs out and you just be messing up everything. Lad, boo, boo, or whatever you say. We're gonna see what we're gonna do today. We're gonna bless the name of the creator of heaven and earth. You know, Maury was right. Everything about this whole portion is about reverencing God.
Yeah.
Hear me? We've taken that some kind of way. We think that new times mean that, you know, reverence changes. I want you to hear what I just said. The time changes, reverence doesn't. We have to keep that in mind. Well, you know, in your day, y'all did that. So today it's all right to make God common, huh? Because that's the language we speak. I want you to think about it. It never gets common. Ever. There's no time that it gets common. People complain about who's dying. It's because God is not common. You don't get to treat me the way anybody else. If you saw it, the Philistines would pick it up and walk away with it. They put it on a cart. We were supposed to know better. Reverence doesn't change. In all your worship, in all your praise, in all your honor, remember that reverence to the master doesn't change. We bless his holy name. And so now the drummer's going to say what we're going to say so that we don't have no problems. And then we'll just sing that and we'll bless the name of the creator. How about that? That works? What? Why y'all looking at each other? Now y'all want to look at each other. Would you say something? Yes, that's where we're going to start. I'm going to turn to that right now. As soon as I can find it in this book, Baruch Hashem. Because I know y'all have added some words since I knew the song. So I'm looking for it. So we can just sing it. Maybe sing it now. Blessed be the name of the Most High. I don't see it. Is there a page?
I'm gonna pull it up on the screen first.
You want to pull it up on the screen? All right. I can start it. But I don't know all the new words.
Page 78 in the New Siddurim.
Page 78 in the New Siddurim. I don't have, I see one. I see one.
Okay.
Page 78 in the New Siddurim. There we go. Baruch Hashem, Sheyahovah. Baruch Hashem, Sheyahovah. Baruch Hashem, Sheyahovah. Baruch Hashem, oh Baruch Hashem. Blessed be the name. We talked about it, we sung about it, we prayed about it, we've had meetings about it. Oh God, have we had meetings about it? We are going to be unified. We're going to be one people. We're going to unify ourselves. So I want us to think about this. God has set the whole world quiet. He stopped the whole world so that we could take stock. My prayer to the Most High God is that we don't come out of this plague the same way we went in. That our minds won't be that stubborn. That we won't be that intransigent. That we will recognize the lessons that He's given. Nobody's been exempt. We've all cried. We've all mourned. We've all had to stand in awe of the one who lives forever. We can't. It would be blasphemous for us to come out on the other side the same way we went in, with the same foolishness, the same arrogance, the same puffed upness that we all seem to find to muster. May the God of heaven and earth, blessed be His holy name. Not ours. Israel, listen, not ours. Blessed be His holy name. So that we come out on the other side. We'll actually see what God demands for us to see in this book of God. We'll see our brother and our sister. We'll see our father and our mother. We will no longer see us and them. Those pronouns for us can no longer exist. Let's do it. This time when we sing unity, let's think about it that way. We are coming out of it. We're about to come out of a play. May the Most High God give us the strength to do that which is right. Amen. Let's do it, y'all.
Fingers spread, our hand is weak. How you get the strength to speak, strength to speak, close that hand, and make a fist, spread that power to the ready. Hallelujah. 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 Giving all praises to the Holy One of Israel, the only one who deserves all praises, all honor, and all glory. This time I'd like to ask you to help me to welcome the sister that will lead us in the reading of the 8th proverb. Let's welcome Apo Tamar Babakisha. Hallelujah. You can come forward, Babakisha. In line with yeah.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Respect. First of all, giving honor and praise to the Most High for my life. For the lives of my children, for the lives of everyone you here this day. Respect due to Saul Hamon and Kwame and Maureen. And I'm going to just a problem. I have the little place. Hallelujah. Do not wisdom call and understand and put forth her voice. In the top of high places by the way, where the paths meet, she standeth. Beside the gate, at the entry of the city, at the coming in at the doors, she crieth aloud. Unto you, O men, I call, and my voice is to the sons of men. O ye thoughtless, understand prudence, and ye fools, be ye of an understanding heart. Hear, for I will speak excellent things, and the opening of my lips shall be right things. For my mouth shall utter truth, and wickedness is an abomination to my lips. All the words of my mouth are in righteousness. There is nothing perverse or crooked in them. They are all plain to him that understandeth, and right to them that find knowledge. Receive my instruction, and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is better than rubies, and all things desirable are not to be compared unto her. Our wisdom dwell with prudence, and find our knowledge of the lesson. The fear of Jehovah is to hate evil, pride and arrogancy in the evil way. In the forward mouth do I hate. Counsel is mine, and sound wisdom. I am understanding, power is mine. Be me kings reign, and princes that do justice. By me princes rule, and nobles, even all the judges of the earth. I love them that love me, and those that seek me earnestly shall find me. Riches and honor are with me, yea, enduring riches and righteousness. My fruit is better than gold, better than fine gold, and my produce than choice silver. I walk in the way of righteousness in the midst of the paths of justice, that I may cause those that love me to inherit substance, and that I may fill their chambers. Jehovah made me as the beginning of his way, the first of his works of old. I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, or even, or ever the earth was begun. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no fountains abounding with water. Before the mountains were settled, before the hills was I brought forth. While as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the beginning of the dust of the world. When he established the heavens, I was there. When he set a circle upon the face of the deep. When he made firm the skies above, when the fountains of the deep showed their might. When he gave to the sea his decree, that the waters should not transgress his commandment. When he appointed the foundations of the earth. Then I was by him as a nursling, and I was daily all delight, playing always before him. Playing is his habitable earth, and my delights are with the sons of men. Now therefore, ye children, hearken unto me, for happy are they that keep my ways. Hear instructions, and be wise, and refuse it not. Happy is the man that hearkeneth to me, watching daily at my gates, waiting at the post of my doors. For whoso findeth me, findeth life, and obtaineth favor of Jehovah. But he that misseth me wrongeth his own soul. All they that hate me love death. Hallelujah. Again, giving all glory, honor, and praise unto the Most High Yah. My Ema is at home watching. This is the first time that I have left her alone since her having a stroke. I got cameras everywhere, so I just pop in on my phone and check in on her. I want to thank everyone that prayed, text, called. It has definitely been a trying time, and this conversation could be totally different. But I'm so grateful to the Creator for sparing the life of my Ema. She's getting stronger and stronger every day. I think I'm still overreacting, not want her to do so much. She's like, I can do it, I got it, leave me alone. I'm like, grab the walker, you're doing too much, stop. But I'm learning. It was a scary situation to see her that way, so I'm still trying to just deprogram myself of it's not that anymore. She's getting better, and it's all because of the Most High's mercy and his marvelous ways. And I'm just so grateful. And I'm so happy to be back here. Like being here, I had to get out this week. I had to. I was trying to get her to come with me, but she just didn't have the strength to do it. But it is so good to be back in the house of the Most High and to see all your faces. It feels so good to my spirit and my soul. And I'm so grateful. Hallelujah.
Giving all praise to the Most High for answering our prayers and making the Ema of our sister Tamar even better. Hallelujah. Together we unite our voices to say the 24th Psalm, Psalm 24. It will be placed on the board so we can all say it together. Hallelujah. The earth is Jehovah's and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. For he hath founded upon the seas and established it upon the floods. Who shall ascend into the mountain of Jehovah? And who shall stand in his holy place? He that hath clean hands and a pure heart, who hath not taken my name in vain, and not sworn deceitfully. He shall receive a blessing from Jehovah, and righteousness from the power of his salvation. Such is the generation of them that seek after him, that seek thy face, even Yahweh. Lift up your heads, O ye gates, and be ye lifted up, ye everlasting doors, that the King of glory may come in. Who is the King of glory? Jehovah, strong and mighty, the Jehovah, mighty in battle. Lift up your heads, O ye gates, yea, lift them up, ye everlasting doors, that the King of glory may come in. Who then is the King of glory? Jehovah of hosts, he is the King of glory. Selah. Hallelujah. As we give praise and thanks to this King of glory, holds him home. Hallelujah. 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 We thank God for all of leaders throughout this earth. We thank God for the presence of our Rabbi Baruch. May the Most High continue to be with his congregation, his family. And may the Most High be with Kol Beit Israel, all those Morim, Kohanim, Mishar team, brothers and sisters, children. Kol Beit Israel. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
We move back to Shah. Today's Shabbat portion, or today's Shabbat is called Shabbat Shemini. And we're picking up from the 8th day of the consecration of the priesthood of the sons of Aaron. As we said before, Moshe, he was the priest maker. When you see a person with a degree, you would want to know who gave the first hold of a degree, the degree. Did he have a degree? Because you have to understand that Moshe, he was the standard of how it was to approach the creator and make of heaven and earth. And he was the one that was suitable to ensure that Aaron, his brother, and his nephews would be fit with the right frame of mind and the right behavior as to how to do the service. Many times you see persons standing to do the service of the creator, and it just looks so they just come up, do what they gotta do, some, go to it, whatever, and they go about their business. But many times we do not see the preparation, throughout the week, the studying, and even throughout the lives of that person or persons, how they have to carry themselves, so that they can be respected before the people and before the Holy One of Israel. So when we look in this portion, we're going to see that they're about to go through the ceremony. And many times people lose the understanding in a ceremony. Because in a ceremony, you're going through certain rituals, and they lose the understanding of what is actually being done. And we're going to see them failing in the next chapter 10 to appear to making a separation between the holy and the profane. So in the book of Leviticus, the 9th chapter, the 1st verse, we pick up.
It came to pass on the 8th day that Moses called Aaron and his sons and the elders of Israel. And he said unto Aaron, take the bull calf for a sin offering, and a ram for a burnt offering, without blemish, and offer them before your host.
The nation of Israel is observing, they're viewing this. So the priesthood is about to be established. They don't have to go, Moshe doesn't have to go up to the mount anymore, but the Most High's presence can be in this tent of meeting, in the Holy of Holies. So this ceremony was to ensure that they were ready for this situation, for the Most High's presence to be in our midst. So the first thing he had to do, he had to be free of all his sins. So he brought this bull calf for sin offering.
And unto the children of Israel thou shalt speak, saying, take ye a he-goat for a sin offering, and a calf and a lamb, both of the first year without blemish, for a burnt offering.
Right, so we had a sin offering for the nation and a burnt offering.
And an ox, and a ram for a peace offering, to sacrifice before Jehovah, and a meal offering mingled with oil for today, for a period unto you.
So these were the offerings they had to bring up for the on the 8th day for the completion of their ordination into the priesthood. And when you look at priesthoods on the planet, this is the only priesthood that the Most High did in this manner. The only one that's ordained and sanctioned by the Holy One of Israel, the Levitical priesthood.
And they brought that which Moses commanded before the tent of meeting, and all the congregation drew near and stood before Yahweh. And Moses said, this is the thing which Yahweh commanded that ye should do, that the glory of Yahweh may appear unto you.
So there's basically saying a formula to ensure that you can invite the presence of the Holy One of Israel. It's a formula. So today we may not have the animal, but as the prophet said, may the Most High accept the words of our lips in the place of Moloch. It's a formula. What can you do to cause the Most High's presence to be in your midst? You know, when you look at, because of my line of work, many times I see houses being constructed. You know, in a new way, you first see a slab, then you see in the slab they have like pieces of metal sticking up, they got plumbing sticking up to attach when everything is in place. Then you see the sides go on, all of these things. But that is just a shell. Because a family is going to move into that home. And that family is going to bring a spirit into that home. Similarly, here we see they have built a tent of meeting. So they are taking it from the common stage of regular men and women making these items. And now the Most High's presence is going to come and activate the usage of these items. So he's saying, the way, as he said here, that he's going to make it so that the Most High's presence, the glory of Yah may appear unto you.
And they brought that which Moses commanded before the tent of meeting. And all the congregation drew near and stood before Yahweh. And Moses said, this is the thing which Yahweh commanded that ye should do, that the glory of Yahweh may appear unto you. And Moses said unto Aaron, draw near unto the altar, and offer thy sin offering, and thy burnt offering, and make atonement for thyself and for the people, and present the offering of the people, and make atonement for them, as Yahweh commanded.
So before Yah came into our midst, we have to ensure that there was nothing lacking in the relationship. That's why we greet each other with the word shalom, peace. Is everything good? Is everything in its entirety fulfilled? And the atonements first, he's saying he has to atone for him as the offering priest, Aaron. And then he has to offer atonement for the people on behalf of the people.
So Aaron drew near unto the altar, and slew the calf of the sin offering, which was for himself.
You have to clean his hands up first. In other words, you have to be free from sin before he does it on behalf of everyone.
And the sons of Aaron presented the blood unto him, and he dipped his finger in the blood, and put it upon the horns of the altar, and poured out the blood at the base of the altar.
And remember, all of this was done under the tutelage of Moshe, so they're actually now doing it for themselves in the sight of all the people. Everything that they studied and practiced is now actually being made manifest. So when we think of offering an animal, basically it was an acknowledgement of your shortcomings. And that is one of the beginning stages in forgiveness. Many times we see repentance and forgiveness, and we just go through the motions, but if you don't acknowledge, that is why, especially on your before the law, where it says you got to come before Yah for the purpose of forgiveness of sins, you have to acknowledge that you've done wrong, or else it's not going to make any sense. You have to, I have done wrong. This is why I'm coming before you, Yah. What I did back in the day, I would get a list of all of the supposed 613 commandments. And I would go through everyone during the Yom Kippur night to see if I had broken one, to say I broke this selectively. That's how I would spend my Yom Kippur night, bringing up the shortcomings, to meditate on the shortcomings that I may have done, and to try to create a way to prevent me from going back that route. It says.
But the fat and the kidneys and the lobe of the liver of the sin offering, he made smoke upon the altar, as Yahweh commanded Moses.
Right. So all of these instructions were being carried out to the T.
And the flesh and the skin were burnt with fire without the camp.
And actually, from being able to do these things over the years in terms of the Passover offering, and burning the flesh, or burning the skin rather than the bones and the entrails, we know it really takes a lot of fire to do that. Okay, so they had to have this fire without the camp burning on such a high degree that it would consume those the skin and the entrails, so on, to make it ash in the end. And that's what happens, in the end before the sun comes up. We're able to burn all those things, and then we just cover the dirt over. And sometimes that fire is burning all week, from the heat of the flame. So this is the commandment of the Most High, the Holy One of Israel.
And the flesh and the skin were burnt with fire without the camp, and he slew the burnt offering. And Aaron's sons delivered unto him the blood, and he dashed it against the altar round about. And they delivered the burnt offering unto him piece by piece, and the head, and he made them smoke upon the altar.
So we see that the blood, certain like the sin offering, the blood was placed on the horns, etc. And then we see the burnt offering. He has to burn it piece by piece, like I said, at fire. You just can't throw all the meat on the altar. It's not going to burn properly. So he's feeding the fire, this animal, bit by bit, so that it can be totally consumed by the fire.
And he washed the inwards and the legs, and made them smoke upon the burnt offering on the altar. And the people's offering was presented. And he took the goat of the sin offering, which was for the people, and slew it, and offered it for sin as the first. And the burnt offering was presented, and he offered it according to the ordinance. And the meal offering was presented, and he filled his hand therefrom, and made it smoke upon the altar, besides the burnt offering of the morning. And he slew also the ox, and the ram, and the sacrifice of peace offerings, which was for the people. And Aaron's son delivered unto him the blood, and he dashed it against the altar round about, and the fat of the ox, and of the ram, the fat tail, and that which covered the inwards, and the kidneys, and the lobe of the liver. And they put the fat upon the breast, and he made the fat smoke upon the altar, and the breast, and the right thigh Aaron waved for a wave offering before Jehovah, as Moses commanded.
Now, Mr. Rick, if you can go to slide number 6. This is showing you there's a certain type of a breed of sheep. Sheep is one of the animals that have many breeds. Next one. Right. Spoke about the fat tail. So we see that breed of sheep, it actually has that fat tail where the fat accumulates. We're accustomed to seeing that skinny little tail that sheep have. In this breed here in northeastern Africa, they call it Middle East. This is how that tail is. So when you hear them talk about the fat tail, it's like growing up when we reared fowls and ducks. You cut out what's called the oil can on the tail of the fowls and the ducks. If you ever saw a duck or a goose or whatever, you'll see many times they would take their head and rub it on their tail. Because what they're actually doing, the oil that is produced there, they're coating their feathers with it. They hear the term like water running off a duck's back? It's because they have water, they waterproof their feathers coming from the fat tail. So this animal as well, when the Moses speaks about the fat tail, he's speaking about removing the fat from that area as well and placing it on the altar.
Amen.
And Aaron lifted up his hands toward the people and blessed them. And he came down from offering the sin offering and the burnt offering and the peace offering.
So the formula to go up to the Most High at that time was these offerings. This was like the gate to open up, the relationship. Sin offering, burnt offering, and peace offering. That was the ritual.
Yeah.
But then, as us as individuals, we have to have the mannerism, the behavior that went along with that. It's like, let's think about you going to a state dinner, and you have all this pomp and ceremony, but you have a behavior that is for the streets.
Right.
So it does not go together. The pomp and ceremony, you could be dressed in your best. But if you have, a bad behavior, it's gonna look real bad. So in the same way, we had the offerings, but we're gonna see our actions in our matches.
And Moses and Aaron went into the tent of meeting and came out and blessed the people. And the glory of Jehovah appeared unto all the people. And there came forth fire from before Jehovah and consumed upon the altar the burnt offerings and the fat. And when all the people saw it, they shouted and fell on their faces.
I always wonder, how could we see the direct presence and strength and power of the Most High and still do what we did? It has to be a state of mind that really needs investigation and intervention. I told you before of when I was living in Barbados with the Hebrew community there was a brother. He was a Moroccan Jew, an Israelite brother, and he was a psychologist, and he always spoke about the psychosis of our forefathers, of how many of us were, I don't want to say the word crazy, but that's what he said. And if we examine the behaviors of us back in the day, and even our behaviors now, we really need mental health. And that's one of the things in the Black community that we run from.
Come on, sir.
Just yesterday, the hip-hop community lost DMX. And they're saying that he had mental issues, if you listen to the music, whatever. And, that's stuff that, no, I'm all right, We all need that mental intervention.
Yeah.
Why would it be that we know all of these laws? We know these laws, but yet we step out of the boundaries of what the law prohibits us from doing, and we do it anyway. We know the laws. We could be see everything, doing evil. What causes us to do that? Because when we think about the fear of the Most High, we have to take it out of an abstract situation. What does the fear of the Most High mean? One of the ways I understand it is that whatever you're doing, beyond the shadow of a doubt, expect it to come back to you. Good or bad. So it therefore means you will try to just extend good all the time so that can come back to you. But in that brief moment, many times, we just go off and do the wrong thing. We say the wrong thing. We run at the mouth quickly, and you can't take it back. You just place that spirit and energy on a person negative. Take that. It's like the lady that was killed a few weeks ago in North Carolina here, just because her husband merged too close to the next car.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna pull in the next side and shoot it. What went into his mind? Up to yesterday, somebody was very close to me. I was like, what's wrong with him? I mean, I was already, okay, if he gets me insurance money, but think about the danger. I would not try to race behind him like, I'm gonna get on a road rage. I never get that whole road rage situation. When you travel from North Carolina and you go down to New York, you gotta be prepared. Because you're not in Carolina anymore, people react differently on the road. It's just different spirits. So as Israelites, we have to become more aware of ourselves. That is like me talking to myself, become more aware of ourselves so that we know the buttons that people can push to make us upset. And try to push those buttons yourselves so that you can learn to react differently. We have to, like how the Most High said in the book of Isaiah, my people does not even consider. We do not take our actions throughout a full thought process. We don't do that. And these are some of the things that we need to do as Israelites. We got to think our way out of this situation. It continues in the next chapter 10.
And Nadab and Abihu, the sons of Aaron, took each of them his censer, and put fire therein, and laid incense thereon. and offered strange fire before Jehovah, which he had not commanded them.
You should be, when you think of maturity, many times people will try to equate maturity with an age, but that's not always the case. The Most High commanded that from 25 to 30, the priest should be training until the ordination. And Nadab and Abihu should have been of that age. They should have been young men that had their own families, of course, and should have had the maturity, spiritual maturity, as to how to act and behave. What they did there reminds me of back in the day in the integrated science lab. You know, integrated science has chemistry, biology, all the sciences together. And I think the teacher was Miss Tessafera Singham. She was a teacher coming from Sri Lanka. They had many exchange teachers back in the day. Or was Miss Razak, one of them. But myself and my friend, Otto Williams, I knew him since probably nursery or primary school. But he took it upon himself and encouraged me to join him. At the end of the experiment, we took all the chemicals that we used and we mixed them together in one test tube. That the Most High was so merciful that there was no explosion, nothing. The bottom of the ice, the test tube just fell out. Whatever chemical composite, it just fell out. I was like, what? And that was a lesson for me. I never did that again. But Nadab and Abihu, their lesson was for us. Right. Because many times, some people's lessons are not for them. You're going to learn a lesson because of something that happened to someone. You see. So, whatever they did their own little offering. Again, not respecting the holy and mixing it with the profane. Because the Most High said there's a certain formula you have to have before coming before Him. He already, in chapters past, gave you the measurements and said, do not make after this compound for yourself. This is only used for the Most High. And you see, when you do these things, the angels are so obedient that when you summon them, they come. But they come with so much energy that if you're not ready, you die. That's why the Most High said, let me come, when Israel was behaving bad in the wilderness, he said, let me get myself from in the midst. Because just as fresh as like fire and gasoline, when they come together, one thing happens. So here, Nadab and Abihu, they pay the ultimate price, their death, so that we can learn the lesson.
And there came forth fire from before Jehovah and devoured them. And they died before Yah.
Have you ever heard meat singeing on the grill? He said it consumed them. They were sucked dry. It's like you can ask Shomer LV of electricity what it does to the body. It dries you out. Dries you out and then it releases you. If you ever saw someone electrocuted by high voltage, this is what the Most High did. One zap, dead.
Then Moses said unto Aaron, this is it that Jehovah spoke, saying, through them that are nigh unto me, I will be sanctified. And before all the people, I will be glorified. And Aaron held his peace.
Comprehension is important because the Most High puts so much information in a line. Why would Moshe have to tell this to Aaron? Aaron just lost two of his sons. So he was feeling some kind of way. He was probably reacting in a certain kind of way, probably losing his mind. And Moshe had to calm him down. And he held his peace, it says. So he's saying, through them that are nigh unto me, I will be sanctified. Hold yourself together. My glory is important. They were wrong. So he held his peace. He didn't see nothing else.
And Moses called Mishael and Elzaphan, the sons of Uziel, the uncle of Aaron, and said unto them, draw near, carry your brethren from before the sanctuary out of the camp. So they drew near and carried them in their tunics out of the camp, as Moses had said.
Now, when the Most High has a way of doing things that when he does it, you cannot doubt it is him that did it. Because they were able to hold the garments of these two, Nadab and Abihu, and drag them out of the camp, or lift them, however. The garments did not tear. We all know what happens when fire touches linen that they were wearing. Any material, it will tear. So it shows you that whatever hit them, and not their clothing. So anyone seeing or hearing that would know, this is not oh, they were just playing with fire and they got burned. The Most High did that. That's how the Most High moves. The Most High is like, you see, like the terrorists would bomb a place and they would give a call to you like, we did that. With the Most High, he's not calling about They were burned to a crisp, but their clothes was intact. That's how. You see, we don't know the Most High. We be like, yeah, bro. We do not know. Like Rabbi said some time ago, he's awful, he's terrible. The Most High is a force that our little minds cannot even begin to imagine. The Most High is just awesome. Every living organism in this universe contains the energy of the Holy One of Israel. And that's all we know of this universe. Because I always say that don't think the universe is the only thing that the Most High is thinking about. The Most High is vast.
Sir.
So Nadab and Abihu had to learn this lesson. It says.
And Moses said unto Aaron, and unto Eleazar, and unto Ithamar, his sons, let not the hair of your heads go loose, neither rend your clothes, that ye die not, and that he be not wroth with all the congregation. But let your brethren, the whole house of Israel, beware of the burning which Jehovah hath kindled. And ye shall not go out from the door of the tent of meeting, lest ye die. For the anointing oil of Jehovah is upon you. And they did according to the word of Moses.
You know how challenging that was? Your brother, your son, they just died, and you have to carry on with the ceremony. It reminds me, back in the day, there was I don't know if he was a prime minister at the time or was a president already, Desmond Hoyt in Guyana. He had 2 daughters alone, and they were heading up to Linden to do an address or something. He was to meet the people. I think it was around pre-election time. But there was an accident, and his daughters, they died in that accident on the way to where he was going. He did not cancel, he did not turn back. I heard I think they were in different cars. It was a really bad accident, and he took a handkerchief and picked up his daughter's brain, some gorish thing like that. But he still went and delivered that speech. People question his humanity because of that, but it reminds me of this commandment that Moses is giving to Aaron through Moshe, that the anointing oil, you have to respect the office. That's what the Moses is saying, respect the office of the priesthood. The people are looking towards you. The people can mourn, he has other people that can mourn, but for you that are going through the ceremony, you have to complete it.
And Jehovah spoke unto Aaron, saying, drink no wine nor strong drink, thou nor thy sons with thee when ye go into the tent of meeting, that ye die not. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations, and that ye may put a difference between the holy and the common, and between the unclean and the clean, and that ye may teach the children of Israel all the statutes which Jehovah had spoken unto them by the hand of Moses.
So from this commandment here, we can surmise that they were intoxicated. They could not be in the right mind, so you got to blame it on the alcohol, like the song said. I don't know if you've ever become intoxicated. I have. In my younger days, we lived, as I told you, in a gated community because of my father worked for the shuttle company. So you had, in the particular estate I was living on, the road in was, LBI's road was over 2 miles long, probably 5. But it was a long road in. And then at the back, you'd have this gated community. So for you to go in there, you really would have been invited. You just don't be sauntering down a long road. There were villages on the side, a village on the next side was better for walking. And we would, like, sometimes we would meet up. There was, in the fence compound, there was one other fence that belonged to the general manager. So his sons, you know, we were friends. And all the boys in the compound, we would meet up. Some nights we would just be chewing sugar cane, we'd play cricket during the day, football, whatever. But some nights we would gather together, cook some food, and drink. So on 2 occasions I got intoxicated. I mean, we finished like, one time was 15 bottles of wine. And if you ever drank Vienna situation, you know it's no play thing. But on those 2 occasions, I can remember one night I ran when I was intoxicated and something in the yard cut me. I heard it, you know, the skin rip. But I didn't feel nothing. Till the next day. One of the other little brothers, he fell, bust his head. We laughing out the whole time. You know, I went home, my mother, I can remember one time she opened the door. She didn't tell me nothing. My mother is a very understanding parent. I mean, what could go wrong? There's no police around, you know. We just experimented with alcohol. So I went into the bathroom, just laying on the floor expecting to throw up. I didn't. So all night the room was just spinning. It was a terrible feeling. Of course, it hung over the next day. So the Most High is saying, don't do this common thing when you're in His holy service. You cannot function properly. The Nazir that is supposed to be with the length of his vow, he cannot do this common thing. It confuses your thoughts. Things that you do when you're intoxicated, you would never do as a sober person. Men go to a club, they got to drink some wine before they go and talk to this girl. Because it raises up their confidence in them. It makes them take risks. Then David and Abihu took the wrong risk. And they were burnt to crisp. That kind of right. It says.
And Moses spoke unto Aharon and unto Eleazar and unto Ithamar, his sons that were left.
That's the sons that were left. Mm-hmm.
Take the meal offerings that remained of the offerings of Jehovah made by fire, and eat it without leaven beside the altar, where it is most holy. And ye shall eat it in a holy place, because it is thy due, and thy son's due, of the offerings of Jehovah made by fire. For so I am commanded.
The first duty is to glorify the name of God. That's the lesson we learned here. Mm-hmm.
And the breast of waving and the thigh of heaving shall ye eat in a clean place, thou and thy sons and thy daughters with thee. For they are given as thy due, and thy sons' due, out of the sacrifices of the peace offerings of the children of Israel.
They were steered straight. Just look at the behavior of Eleazar and Ithamar throughout their lives. Steered straight. They didn't mess with the Most High because they saw firsthand what happens in the office of the priesthood.
The thigh of heaving and the breast of waving shall they bring with the offerings of the fat made by fire to wave it for a wave offering before Jehovah. And it shall be thine and thy sons with thee as a due forever, as Jehovah commanded.
And that's how they were sustained. They were sustained by the offerings of the children of Israel.
And Moses diligently inquired of the goat of the sin offering, and behold, it was burnt. And he was angry with Eleazar and with Ithamar, the sons of Aharon that were left, saying, Wherefore have ye not eaten the sin offering in the place of the sanctuary, seeing it is most holy, and he hath given it to you to bear the iniquity of the congregation, to make atonement for them before Yahweh. Behold, the blood of it was not brought into the sanctuary within. You should certainly have eaten it in the sanctuary, as I commanded. And Aharon spoke unto Moses, Behold, this day have they offered their sin offering and their burnt offering before Jehovah. And there have befallen me such things as these. And if I had eaten the sin offering today, Would it have been well pleasing in the sight of Jehovah?
In other words, he's saying he did not have the frame of mind to do what he was supposed to do. It was difficult.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is he's now going into the priesthood, and this is what happens. First experience, death of his son. So he's really taking it on, like anyone would, seeing their child die in such a manner. And that's not one, but two of them. Mm-hmm.
When Moses heard that, it was well pleasing in his sight.
But was it well pleasing in your sight? That's my question. Because the Most High is saying his name has to be glorified. So we have to always, whatever your vice is, ensure that when it comes time to the Creator, give the Creator his glory. This is not a time to be monkeying around, jumping around. It is Yah's time. We can do that the rest of the 6 days of the week.
That's right.
Give Yah his glory and his praise. So while we're in the wilderness in Leviticus 11, we as Israelites, we like to eat. And before we get ourselves to death, the Most High has given us some rules as to what we can consume. If you would have ever traveled to the land of Israel and gone through the Sinai Peninsula, you would see exactly how arid it is. Few things grow there. But yet, most parts of the planet Earth, like 99%, there are organisms that can survive and live. And in the wilderness, in the desert as well, there's a lot of animals and plants that you can consume. More so, animals, because you got all these little rodents running up and down, living. And our forefathers in the wilderness, look at it, and like when we in Guyana in the jungle, and something runs across the road, something flies out to the bushes, person will turn into like, I mean, it's like the first thing, not asking, is it dangerous? Is it going to attack you? Is it going to kill you? So, the Most High knowing us, look, when you're hungry, you are going to eat. That is the spirit of the human body. There are certain places on the planet I don't think I would voluntarily go. I would go to the North Pole. You know, what am I going to eat? The diet they have there is so their body can survive. They eat blubber, the fat of whales. You know, they got to eat that way to survive. I'm not going there. There's no plant that I can eat. I'm a vegetarian. So, when you look at the diet of Leviticus 11, you're going to see some of the insects and stuff that they could eat because they were in the wilderness. When you look at diets, we have three diets I could identify. We have the Bereshit diet, and that diet came about in the creation of Adam. That before Adam was actually made, this diet was given, the vegan diet or the vegetarian diet. And it was that, so it was not that his body was just there, and I said, what shall we give him? No, his body was not made. So it therefore means his body was made to function on this highest level on this diet. When the days of Noah came and everything was, all vegetation came off the earth, the Most High said that you could eat anything basically when it came off the earth.
That's right.
That was another diet of survival. If you study the mouth of the human being, you will realize that we can eat, of course, be herbivorous, or we can also be carnivorous. Because there are cases that a person, to survive, especially, will have to eat a certain, like in the wilderness here, we were nomadic, we didn't stop, we didn't plant, we didn't have our day trees, so we had to eat a diet that was, carnivorous. There was the manna, but you know how people, we get fed up of one thing quickly. So they would request, of course, eat the flesh, and this is the instructions that were given. So here, we go to, they call it the Leviticus 11 diet. It says,
And Jehovah spoke unto Moses and to Aaron, saying unto them, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the living things which ye may eat among all the beasts that are on the earth. Whatsoever parteth the hoof, and is wholly cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that may ye eat.
Okay, if we go to slide 10, Bakusha.
Which slide?
Awesome.
What did you say?
10, slide 10. Right. So we see because, okay, many times people take it for granted. Me coming from South America, the Caribbean area, we see animals all day. Animals sauntering through traffic. That kind of situation, we see them all day. So when they speak about the description of these animals, a person living here in the United States of America, they would just see the animal on the shelf in a nice styrofoam covered in plastic.
Yes, sir.
They don't know what it looks like. But this is what it's speaking about. Holy clover, putting part of the hoof. So the animal must have these two little things behind here, and it must also have separate hoofs. It must be split in the middle. Okay? See all of them have it, and that thing behind there. Now the feet of the animal determines where it eats. Okay? Because these animals, they're not going to be climbing rocks, they're not going to be flying, swooping down on stuff. They're herbivorous. Their body has a certain makeup. If you go to the next slide, Bakusha, I think that's the one. It spoke about chewing the cud. Because these ruminants, you see, they have 4 stomachs. Okay? So when the food comes in, it goes through this network, and before it passes out into the intestines as fecal matter. So we have stomach 1, stomach 2, stomach 3, stomach 4. And each of them, they take the grass through a certain process. So by the time it digests the mazone, it is like total extract all nutrients. It is a good situation. But we're going to see the unclean animals. They have shorter digestive systems than the herbivore. And there's another thing why our bodies are best suited in herb, because we have very long digestional tracts, as against like a lion or a pig. It's very short, as you're going to see. So the Mosai is saying they have to be wholly cloven-footed and chew the cud. These are the animals that you can eat. So when you're hunting them, you're going to peek into them. Okay, you got a cloven foot. Is he chewing his cud? Is he chewing his cud? Yeah, let's get it. So you got to look for those characteristics. It says,
Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that only chew the cud.
so it's not 1 out of 3 characteristics. You got to get all the characteristics. It says,
Or of them that only part the hoof.
mm-hmm.
The camel, because he cheweth the cud, but parteth not the hoof. He is unclean unto you.
Right, so if you show a picture of a camel, Bakusha, so the camel, that is slide 11, 12. So the camel, he chews the cud. If you ever saw a camel, I don't want to say he's lazy, he just walks in a loopy man. And he's just there standing up chewing the cud. The Mosai is saying he is not to be eaten. Because here we have the camel. Does anyone know the difference between a camel and a dromedary? Camel has 2 humps, dromedary has 1. Right. So if you see a 1 hump, that is not considered a camel, even though it's a camel family. Like the llamas look like them as well. So here we see the camel. He chews his cud all day, you know. But look at this. It's not cloven-footed. He doesn't have that thing at the back. These are, even though they look separate, there's skin joining them. So the Mosai was very specific. He said you cannot eat the camel. Let me see. I told you before the story of us coming from Petra, where we stumbled upon some big cuts of chicken. Go to the next slide. So here, this is some Arab brothers actually eating a platter of camel. You see the size of that meat? It's no. So they're sitting there. See, you got his nice cuts of lemon, you know, nice seasoning. This is probably some flatbread or whatever. And they're sitting, of course. He's probably one of those people who are around the world looking at exotic dishes. He didn't comment. It's a lot of meat, but it's not kosher. It's halal for them. So it just shows you the difference. Thank you for mentioning that, because as Israelites, in our quest for healthy meats, we go to the halal food store. What does halal mean? In the Quran, it basically says, if you're eating meat, you gotta call the name of Allah on it. That's what makes it halal. Okay? Just call it, they eat shrimp, they eat lobster, they eat all those seafood. The only thing they probably don't eat that we don't eat is swine. But eat everything else. So halal is not kosher. Alright? Just to show you the difference. Tamshi?
And the rock badger, because he chewed the cud, but parted not the hook, he is unclean unto you. And the hare, because she chewed the cud, but parted not the hook, she is unclean unto you. And the swine, because he parted the hook, and is cloven footed, but cheweth not the cud, he is unclean unto you. Of their flesh ye shall not eat, and their carcasses ye shall not touch. They are unclean unto you.
Yes, Mr. Babasha. Next slide. Because these are some of the creatures that we see, you know, people have them as pets. You see like a hamster. Okay, so go back to that one. We see that's a horse. So you can't eat horse. Some people eat horse. I think some Arabs as well eat horse. And we know horse is used to do what? What byproduct can you get from horse? Glue. Okay. All right. Next. All right. So we speak about the rock badger. There's a, I don't know if it's a gopher, but sometimes at the side of the road you'll see this fat rat. Is that a gopher? It will stand on its hind legs many times. I see the long stage wheel a lot. It runs across the road. No, it's not a possum. It's a rodent. It's fat. It's a gopher. Right. Yeah. You can't eat that. It's a lot of meat, but it's just a glorified rat. So we have a rock badger. We have the hare. This arnevet is also a rodent. It's just a different looking rodent. And we know that people, they rear these things and eat them. At least back in Guyana, you could go to a person, oh, they rear rabbits. And people eat rabbit meat. I don't know what it tastes like. I've never eaten it. I'm not interested. I don't think I've ever eaten rabbit. I mean, I was not always an Israelite, and I ate what my parents cooked, so I had a lot of, I think I did. Lamb is a rabbit. Yeah, take that back. Anyway, so it says here, go to the next slide, Patricia. So here we have the Khazir. So I give two pictures because this one here is the wild one. And this one is the modern domesticated one. Some people try to argue that, oh, this right, they eat cleaner, they're not the same. It looked like a dog, it barked like a dog. You know, so, but yeah, this one, I think they call them feral hogs. I do not know if you ever stepped up on them. Like, you smell them before you see them.
That's right.
They're very violent. They know to use those tusks. In Guyana, in the jungle, it's been known that if, like, wherever way you got them angry, and you run up a tree to escape them, they would wait under that tree, fall asleep waiting on you. That's the temper that they have. So some people have, I've gone to many homes, and people have these as pets in their house. Huge. That's a member of the family. But the Most High is saying that their carcasses, when these animals die, don't touch them because they carry a dangerous parasite. And those parasites, when you touch them, scientific evidence shows that they can seep into your skin.
Wow. Teach it more.
This is how parasites have to find the host. I don't know if you ever watched a sci-fi horror movie This is basically a sci-fi horror movie. The most I say, don't touch their carcasses. They're unclean to you. The trachina worm, you can go on YouTube and look when they pour like Coca-Cola and stuff on slice flesh, and you can see those worms exiting. It's gross. So the most I say, don't eat it. Tamshik. 9.
These may ye eat of all that are in the waters. Whatsoever hath fins and scales in the waters, in the seas, and in the rivers, them may ye eat. And all that have not fins and scales in the seas, and in the rivers, of all that swarm in the waters, and of all the living creatures that are in the waters, they are a detestable thing unto you.
Right.
And they shall be a detestable thing unto you. Ye shall not eat of their flesh and their carcasses. Ye shall have in detestation whatsoever hath no fin, nor scales in the waters, that is a detestable thing unto you.
So let's look to see what fins and scales look like. Again, you go in the supermarket. May I have filleted fish? And so I don't know if you have fish fingers here, like smaller parts of fish, but go on. Okay, before we go, this here is the largest rodent on the planet. It's called a capybara. At least that's what we call it. It's huge and it's very friendly. It befriends anything, but it's a huge rodent about this. Just think about seeing a rat this big. It has the rat features, everything, just this big. Right? And you know it's a delicacy. Next. That's how rat looks when it's prepared properly. So this is a fish with fins and scales. Okay? It has scales on it. Okay, coming again from where I grew up, we used to go to the fish market and bring home the fish looking like this. And then we would scale it, take the guts out, season it, probably season it like all the fish we buy, we season it, put it in the freezer, and whatever we need, we would use. Okay? So the seasoning really went into it. I used to enjoy eating the fish head, sucking the eyes out of the brain and everything. I mean, I'm not a vegetarian, I'm a vegan right now, but y'all that say y'all eat meat, y'all just playing games. I used to eat so, you can physically scrape this off. You can see it coming off. It goes on your hands all over. And these are the fins. So when people say stuff like, oh, shark has scales, only when you take it out of the water, it falls off garbage. When you hold, we call them skin fish. When you hold it, it feels like skin, like a human being. It's gross to feel it. Because when we go and fish, like if you throw the net out, it brings in everything. But you gotta take out what you need. And the skin fish, it's just a feeling. It's just like gross. The skin, I can't describe it. But the most I say, don't eat it. And many of our people are naturally allergic to skin fish. Okay? So the most I spoke about all of these things that don't have fins and scales. So you have a lot of shellfish. Again, we're looking at cuisine. When people start speaking about cuisine, you know they're getting down and dirty. Lobster. Look at that preparation. Look at that crab. Octopus. I saw a video with them eating live octopus, some live baby octopus. The thing about it is that they said you gotta swallow it quickly because as the octopus is going down, the tentacles are sticking to your throat. Why? Yes, it's like, why? What is going on? The most I said, keep it simple. Keep it simple. It goes on and says,
and these ye shall have in detestation among the fowls. They shall not be eaten. They are a detestable thing. The great vulture, and the bearded vulture, and the osprey, and the kite, and the falcon after its kinds, every raven after its kinds, and the ostrich, and the nighthawk, and the sea moon, and the hawk after its kind, and the little owl, and the cormorant, and the great owl, and the horned owl, and the pelican, and the carrion vulture, and the stork, and the heron after its kind, and the hoopoe, and the bat.
You gotta end that properly. The most I had attempts, we can't eat a bat, really? All right, let's go back to the slides. These animals, okay, the most is covering sea, water, land, okay? Look at these animals. Why would you want to eat that? So this is like these are vultures in the king vulture. This is one you see along Steelsville regularly. The Aubrey Road kill, that is a kite. In Guyana, we call them snail eaters. Because they would go down into the grains, pick up the snails, and you see the hook on their shell. You know how a snail is? Their beaks are made to just go in there and pull the snail out of the shell. Okay? Then they drop it on the ground. So you see, like along the road, a lot of snail shells because of the kite. Next. All of these are some of the little hawks. I think that's a raven. So all of these animals, look, birds as predators, they are deadly. You see some birds just sauntering in the air, and then it will swoop down like little dogs. Some people don't let the little dogs be out. So they got some real petty dogs. Hawks eat them. There's a video you can check online, YouTube, where a hawk picked a baby up, but he dropped the baby. So you gotta be careful. These things are mean hunters. In Guyana, we have the harpy eagle. They say that's the largest eagle. Their hands are like bigger than a man's hands. Next, it's probably like big like me. You know, like if I crouch down, that's the size of a harpy eagle. The wingspan is ridiculous. So the most I say we can't eat them. The ostrich. Now that's a lot of meat.
That's a
There's ostrich eggs people eat. There's the emu. You know the ostrich family. I think there are emu farms out here. Yeah, then you can go and select your emu that you want to take home.
Blue emu, the
The what?
They have that blue emu, like joint cream, barbarous.
I don't know. I'm not into that.
The Liberty commercial.
Okay, so this is you see the web feed? The most I said no. And these things, there's a video right now with a pelican eating a rabbit. I don't know if you saw that video recently. The pelican swallowed that rabbit. Next. The owl. Growing up, they used to eat the owl because our addicts, the owls used to live in them. And the workers used to come and, because they make noise, they zoo and everything, and they would kill the owl. The owl is an animal, it stands here, but the head is on the opposite side. I don't want to eat that. You are watching it, I don't want to become that. So we see the vultures devouring here, we see the pelican, you see the size of his beak, he swallows all manner of fish in that large bucket beak. Any other slides on that? Right. So all of these, the heron, the kingfisher, see the long feet, these animals stand in the water. Still, I don't know if you ever saw them hunt. They just stand there still. And when the fish least expected, boom, it's like crazy. And the bat. Now look at the size of that bat. That's a bat. The good thing about that bat is it only eats fruits. Because if he ate anything other than fruits, I would migrate off the planet. I'm not messing with that. So the most I said, do not eat those. Come sheep. Oh, the chicken? Yes, go on. All right, so the chicken that we eat today is not a chicken that your foreparents ate. So therefore, you're eating one that is pumped up with a lot of chemicals. I went to a mansion one day to do an installation, and they had their own chickens. They were raising their own chickens to eat, and also they had their own eggs. They could afford to shop at any supermarket. But speaking with them, they were aware of this reality. So they had their own little kitchen garden and everything. They were raising their own, eating their own, so that they can have a healthier choice. 21 or 20, sorry.
All winged swarming things that go upon all fours are a detestable thing unto you. Yet These may ye eat of all winged swarming things that go upon all fours, which have jointed legs above their feet, wherewith to leap upon the earth. Even these of them ye may eat, the locust after its kind, and the bald locust after its kind,
Well, it's like 36,
and the cricket after its kinds, and the grasshopper after its kind. But all winged swarming things which have 4 feet are a detestable thing unto you.
Remember, we were in the wilderness. We were seeing stuff jumping around, leaping around, looking all chumpy. He's like, nah, you gotta give us some of this. So the Mosai said, before you kill yourself, this is what you can eat and cannot eat. Right, so think about all of those creatures. There's a beetle called the Goliath beetle. I don't know if you ever encountered him. But you hear him. You know, like some insects, you know, you just see them flying around. But when he's flapping his wings, you hear him. He's that big. And when he lands with a thud on the ground. You can't eat him. Look at all of those insects, those critters. The Mosai said you cannot eat them. But go to the next slide. This is what the Mosai is saying. This is the structure of the grasshopper, the locust. If he doesn't have those legs, you can't eat him. He's not edible unto you. Sorry. It says.
And by these ye may become unclean. Whosoever toucheth the carcass of them shall be unclean until the even. And whosoever beareth aught of the carcass of them shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until the even. Every beast which parteth the hoof, but is not cloven-footed, nor cheweth the cud, is unclean unto you. Every one that toucheth them shall be unclean.
So the danger is that you don't know what they're selling to you in those well-packaged things, right? You don't know. There are farmers markets out here. If you want to eat, you can be going to the farmers markets and pick up their cuts. You know, they raise cows, they raise sheep, etc. You can get the meat from them. I wouldn't trust their meat. So the Mosai is adamant, do not eat these animals.
And whatsoever goeth upon its paws, among all beasts that go upon all fours, they are unclean unto you.
Let's see the paws. Because some people don't know, you may be thinking we're talking about the paws. We're talking about paws though. So we have the grasshoppers and the locusts, right? And we see these in Guyana in the forest. They're very big insects, don't you? Okay, so these are the paws the Mosai is speaking of. Like I was telling the brothers, this is not just to give him a nice back scratch. This is to get into you. This is a sloth. You see the length of those nails? He is a slow mover, but don't let him get into you with that. This is the anteater. Okay, we call it anteater, the king, the barium, as we call it back there. And this is probably a bear's claws. And we see a lion. The Mosai is saying, you can't eat those animals. They are unclean unto you. We know that they're up to no good. This is the weasel. And we don't have to tell you what that is. Okay? But you can go in certain parts of Chinatown and you can actually enjoy the delicacy. Okay? You can have the rat. Some whatever they put name.
Whoso toucheth their carcasses shall be unclean until the even, and he that beareth the carcass of them shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until the even. They are unclean unto you. And these are they which are unclean unto you among the swarming things that swarm upon the earth, the weasel, and the mouse, and the great lizard after its kind.
Go back to slide, this is reading barbershop.
And the great lizard after its kind, and the gecko, and the land crocodile, and the lizard, and the sand lizard, and the chameleon. These are they which are unclean to you among all that swarm.
So if we look at some of these, now in Guyana, the iguana is a delicacy. Okay, people eat iguana, right? So here we have a different type of iguana. Here's a chameleon, the Mosai said we can't eat that. The thing about spooks me out about the chameleon, his eyes have their own business to look at. One is over there, the next one there. I don't want that on my plate. Next slide. Right, so here we have the crocodile. Now in Guyana they eat, we have the alligator there, and they cut off the tail, some meters in there. That is a delicacy. They curry that business. Here we have the iguana, and here, this is probably from Dominica. On the island of Dominica, there is a frog that they call the mountain chicken. It lives in the mountains, okay? And look at his size. You know frog legs are a delicacy? That's like a man's forearm. That's a lot of meat. So it's a delicacy to them in Dominica. The mountain chicken, they call it. So people eat a lot of things. So when you see this law, you'll be like, why would the Most High have to tell us this, that, and the other? Because of stuff like that. It says, oh, these are some reptiles that people eat. So here it is in the wild, and here it is on a kibbutz. So you could go to Chinatown, different street fairs, and people is eating the way the snake, well prepared. Look at how glazed it is. It's unclean. Don't eat it. Not cheap.
These are they which are unclean to you among all that swarm. Whosoever doth touch them when they are dead shall be unclean until the even. And upon whatsoever any of them when they are dead doth fall, it shall be unclean. Whether it be any vessel of wood or raiment or skin or sack, whatsoever vessel it be, wherewith any work is done, it must be put into water, and it shall be unclean until the even. Then shall it be clean.
So the Most High is saying if it falls on these items that are permeable, that can take in the juice of the dead animal, the parasites of the dead animal, that can hide in all those crevices of the earthenware, of the clothing, whatever it is, the Most High is saying it's unclean. And remember, as I said, these unclean animals, parasites live in them.
And any earthen vessel, whereinto any of them falleth, whatsoever is in shall be unclean. Whatsoever is in it shall be unclean, and it ye shall break.
Right, destroyed. You can't reuse that. It's unclean.
All food therein which may be eaten, that on which water cometh, shall be unclean. And all drink in every such vessel that may be drunk shall be unclean.
Right, like I said, it's permeable. All the impurities already seep into the minute crevices of the cup, of the pot, whatever it is. And you pour the water in it, it brings it right back out. The Most High is saying, break that vessel.
And everything whereupon any part of their carcass falleth shall be unclean, whether oven or range for pots. It shall be broken in pieces. They are unclean and shall be unclean unto you.
In ancient days, even in the country areas, still in Guyana, people make their open ranges out of clay. That is permeable. So if the dead animal falls on that, you have to break that. Just make more clay. It's pretty simple.
Nevertheless, a fountain or a cistern wherein is a gathering of water shall be clean. But he who toucheth their carcass shall be unclean.
So because of the consistency of water, it's a large body of water. That water can purify, it can, make it. But if it's like in a small, like let's say in a cup, that's unclean. But in like a fountain, a cistern, flowing water, the Most High is saying, it's clean. But if you touch the carcass, you're unclean. Come see?
And if aught of their carcass fall upon any sowing seed which is to be sown, it is clean.
What?
But if water be put upon the seed and aught of their carcass fall thereon, it is unclean unto you.
So when the seed is dry, it's not. You just have it put up to be replanted. If water is not touching it, it's like if you study the seed and germination, you know it has certain stages. It has a certain protective coat on it. But when you put that water on it, it starts to shed that coat so that the new sapling can come out. And there, it's permeable. So the Most High is saying, it's unclean if any dead body falls on it.
And if any beast of which ye may eat die, He that toucheth the carcass thereof shall be unclean until the even.
You don't know the cause it died of. If you touch it, you can eat it. So that's great. But the Most High is saying, you touch it, you're unclean.
And he that eateth of the carcass of it shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the even. He also that beareth the carcass of it shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the even. And every swarming thing that swarmeth upon the earth is a detestable thing. It shall not be eaten. Whatsoever goeth upon the belly, and whatsoever goeth upon all fours, or whatsoever hath many feet, even all swarming things that swarm upon the earth, them ye shall not eat, for they are a detestable thing. Ye shall not make yourselves detestable with any swarming thing that swarmeth, neither shall ye make yourselves unclean with them, that ye should be defiled thereby.
First when I started out doing courses like this, I would try to promote, the vegan diet. Yeah, the vegan diet, whatever. But in doing years of research, I've come to understand that regardless of what you eat, it can have an adverse effect on the body if we don't do one thing, and that is deal with our excretion properly. There's a saying, it says, never let the perfect be the enemy of the good enough. I'll say that again. Never let the perfect be the enemy of the good enough. You may think that what you're doing is the way, but do not use your knowledge, your understanding, to be the enemy of the person that is trying and is doing a very good job. As Israelites or humanity first, humanity started out foraging for food. And because you were foraging for food, plants and stuff, you were eating naturally in stuff that was in cycle. Whatever was in season, you ate, and that's how the body's supposed to eat. But humanity, I want this now. When you go to the supermarket, and you can get a watermelon any time of the year, even though we're not a tropical climate. And one of the things with eating is that, okay, if the food is in iron, you realize that little iron filings are remaining in your body. So what you have to do as often as possible, I would advocate a colonic at least once a year. Some people will probably say every 3 months or 6 months, but at least once a year a colonic. And also we have to look at our gut health. There's certain tablets that you can use, or there are certain foods that have probiotics. If you go to slide 108 of Akusha, it's something called butyrate. It's actually sold as a pill. I just want you to see the spelling. I don't know if you can actually just go to 108 straight. Yeah, so